Today, we're bringing you a discussion like no other. It's our goal to build transformative and meaningful technology that not only improves the efficiency of business, but creates a better working environment for future leaders. But how do they envision the future of work? How will technology truly transform the very meaning of work for them in the next 10 or 15 years? We've put together this special segment and invited 5 young, brilliant minds to hear their thoughts. Please welcome Riya Shukla, who will be moderating the conversation.
Thank you. We've all heard from people within our own industry. Their stories are insightful and valuable, but we've heard so many. So for Imagine, we've decided to do something different. Bring together remarkable young people all across the world doing incredible things across different fields. And these aren't just any people. They are our future, the next generation. I wanted to talk about this because we believe that customers are all working hard to provide resources for the future workforce. However, this generation, the one I am bringing for you today, are the ones who will really be a part of it, to use the resources and technology given to us. Due to the current global pandemic, the known systems and responses to combat the issue are being questioned every day. And today, because of the way that our young adults are shaping the world, our lives will be drastically changed by this pandemic. Because of this crisis, we will grow up in such a different environment than anything my father or mother were given or had available. We have more advanced tools, more resources, more people. So we think differently, we dream differently, and most importantly, we will work differently. Thinking a panel would be the best way to depict this perspective because it could provide the opportunity for not only a thought-provoking discussion about the misperceptions of today, but include the thoughts for the future. To go beyond a normal session, because this isn't any of your average conference speakers, and to show perspective to business leaders today. Bringing together some of the world's most influential young adults to talk about what the world will look like and how their individual work of different races, careers, and global location will play a role in it. We discovered these experienced young leaders based on their passions and their accomplishments because we wanted each to have a provocative, compelling angle on this topic, ranging from Indonesia to Washington, D.C., from medicine to cryptocurrency, to civic engagement and climate change. I'm proud to announce 2025, the future of work. Our first panelist is Melati Wijsen, 19-year-old full-time changemaker leading a non-traditional education movement in Bali, Indonesia. In 2019, Melati completed the filming of her first feature film-length documentary, Bigger Than Us, and she is one of Time's top 25 most influential teenagers. She co-founded Bye Bye Plastic Bags, banning them off the island of Bali entirely. Our next panelist is Erik Finman. Erik Finman, as a 21-year-old, also known as the world's youngest Bitcoin millionaire, and has the distinction of Time's top influential teens. He has accomplished amazing things, such as building a Dr. Octopus exosuit, launching a satellite, and founding a multi-million-dollar cryptocurrency company. Our next panelist is Riya Shukla. Riya Shukla is a student leader, organizer, and speaker from the San Francisco Bay Area who has been involved in politics and activism surrounding women's rights, climate change, educational equity, civic engagement, and more. CEO of her organization, PFA Institute, works all over the world to increase civic engagement for youth in marginalized communities. And our final panelist is Jack Andraka. Jack Andraka is an American university student, inventor, and cancer researcher. As a high school student, he won the grand prize at the 2012 Intel International Science Fair with a method to detect the early stages of pancreatic and other cancers, and potentially saved a number of lives. Improving the detection of cancer immensely, he is currently a Stanford student working to address the COVID crisis. Please welcome our panel. For our first question, when you began your unique journey, how would you describe your vision? How does the work that you do connect to your larger vision?
Well, when I really started, I was 12 years old, and and the vision was really to make Bali, my island home, plastic bag free. And I started together with my 10-year-old sister, and we looked at each other and we just knew we had to do it. We had no business plan, no strategy. We had absolutely no idea of the spider web that we were entering ourselves into. But this is something that I think was the beautiful part of it, because we just got straight to work. And that's really what we have continued to do for the last 7 years, just feeding this vision through educational campaigns, grassroots movements, people power gatherings and meetings, and until we really got the work done.
What are the biggest insights you've had through this experience?
All right. The biggest sort of lesson that I've learned, or the biggest insight that I've learned throughout all of my work, is that people won't inherently go toward or act in the correct or just way. They won't act in the interest of the public. And that's a really sort of pessimistic insight, but at the same time, it's really exciting and interesting problem that presents is, how do we design structures and institutions that incentivize people to make the correct decisions that improve the public good? And one of those examples was in Tanzania, where basically there wasn't an incentive for these mining conglomerates to protect the environment, because first, there wasn't enough environmental monitoring. Also, there wasn't really a lot of regulations on contaminants from mining, and there weren't a lot of human rights regulations on mining activity. And so what we had to do is we basically create a whole new monitoring ecosystem there, where environmental monitoring ecosystem, where people were able to hold the company accountable, and actually the company would be penalized if they violated those sort of responsibilities and expectations. And so it's all about creating sort of public watchdogs, it's about creating accountability and transparency. And it's making sure that all voices and all injustices are seen and looked at and investigated. And so that's really the thing for me, is designing structures that make sure that people act in a way that improves the public good.
For our third question, what is a common misconception you believe the world has about work? How do you believe you could change that? Why is it a misconception?
Just everybody working in an office 8 hours a day, so much of work is not necessarily, we're taking the factory mindset to high-level technology work, when I find my work is a few, at least for me personally, a few high-value, high-risk decisions a week. That high risk, high intelligence, high stakes decisions every week. And it's not so much I have to sit at my computer for 8 hours straight and then I clock off. I measure where I think a lot of people in kind of high intelligence jobs, or high level or higher level jobs, or even mid-level jobs, you have to, it's not so much where you're doing, 5 days, 8 hours a day. It's much more, just as it comes. And sometimes I like to think it all balances out, that I have about equal breaks, but maybe it doesn't, maybe it does.
Based on your vision and your personal experience, if you could speak to the management in the world's largest corporations around the world and tell them what you think they could do better to improve the way people work, what would you tell them?
In all of the corporate settings I've seen, and in general being a student brought up in today's world, I've seen that we value sort of the end result much more than what it takes to get there. We monetize upon everything we can, when in reality, the work process shouldn't be about the product we sell or the service we provide, but rather, the trying and the failing and the falling and being able to get back up again. I think that climb back up is something that needs to be emphasized so much more, because there's so much to learn from the journey versus just delivering an end result. So I think if I was able to speak to that person, I would say start valuing the journey as well. Don't just praise for a valuable or quote unquote successful end result. Instead, start looking towards the journey it takes to get there, and start understanding that being able to fall and pick yourself back up again is just as valuable as, making money off of a new product.
For our fifth question, how do you see the world of work in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? How do you see the two worlds align?
So 4 months ago, my answer to what the world of work would look like in 5 years would be drastically different than my current sort of prognosis of the world of work in 5 years. I think in 5 years, we're still sort of going to be reeling from the coronavirus pandemic, and both economically in terms of like unemployment numbers, in terms of sort of economic security, a lot of different issues are sort of up in the air. So I would say the future of work in 5 years, I hope, will be better, that we'll have like medical insurance, that we'll have public health programs, that we'll have environmental safety regulations implemented in work. Like, I hope those things are implemented. Politically, I don't see it changing much. I think the future of work is going to continue to decline. I think working conditions will continue to decline through different sort of corporate loopholes, like issuing people as contractors, or saying people are contractors so they can't get benefits. I think the world of work is going to be measurably worse in 5 years. I think our public health will decrease, and it's not a rosy outcome, it's not an optimistic outcome, but maybe it just speaks to the times, or it speaks to the sort of realities of my generation. But I don't see the world of work improving in 5 years. For me, I will hopefully be in med school, or in my residency at that point. So working for a better future, for public health future.
Our work styles are changing. Driven by the development of mobile devices and cloud applications, working from home has become a regular part of our daily lives. Distributed teams made up of geographically disparate workers are now the norm, rather than the exception. How might these developments change the office of the future and the job of the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think the CEO of Salesforce said that he runs his business off his iPhone. That was a couple of years ago. So, and that's $1 billion company with Salesforce Tower and all that. And I think with VR offices, I think that's very interesting. We're doing that, and you have like basically it's this kind of giant egg in the VR office, and it's like a giant egg-shaped office on top of this mountain. And on the second floor, it's like 2 floors, and on the second floor, you have basically your office, and it's a 360 panorama across this giant lake and on top of this mountain, and it's really amazing. And you can go to each other's offices on the second floor. You can go down to the first floor, and then there's a big kind of public conference room or private meeting rooms, and and that's amazing. Then there's like a ping pong table and a theater room where you can like either play games together in VR on the theater on a flat screen, or like present your PowerPoint in an auditorium. And it's really easy now, and it's really amazing.
And finally, for our last question, in your unique experience, what is work to you? What does work look like day to day in your own life?
Work to me is about improving the public good. If my work isn't helping improve the lives of others, whether it's like through improving their health, whether it's through improving their entertainment or their experiences, I don't really want to participate in that kind of work. And so that to me is what I set out to do, is to improve the lives of others and really make sure that I leave the world a better place than when I came to it.
How is this different from the stereotypical work we see in large corporations? What advice can you offer?
Well, for me, I've been thinking a lot about this, especially in the shift that we are in right now. It's how you can't be everything to everyone. So even in your workspace, really look at what your strengths are. What do you do best? and how can you apply that to make the most impact. And if it's coming from a place of passion, you will see that that impact will multiply without even having to work harder or stress more. It'll just come from a natural place.
Wow, this was a very exciting session. I truly learned so much about the future of the workforce. I would like to thank everyone for being here and making this segment possible.